Gas fitter exam cram session, video 2. Okay, as I was saying, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. The difference between someone who's good, someone who's great, and someone who's the best in the world is the amount of time they spend on their particular skill. You know, you may see them in public. Maybe it's glamorous, maybe it's you're filled with awe, but when all the cameras are off in their private lives, these people pretty much don't have a life. They practice, practice, practice all the time. Let's say someone who's good at playing a musical instrument, but not in a philharmonic. They might practice 5 hours a week. Let's say someone who's one of the best in the world. They're in a philharmonic, their first chair. They might be practicing 50 hours a week. Okay, so repetition. If you keep doing it over and over again, your brain automatically uses less neural connections, finds a way to use less energy, less source, makes it more efficient for that task to be done. When you first learn a task, it's wired into your brain. It's all haphazard. It's a lot of different neurons, a lot of different connections, a lot of different parts of the brain are accessed to get that task done. The more you practice, the more the brain whittles that down, organizes it, makes it more efficient, makes it that really only one pathway is necessary, and boom, you're going to be an expert or a master at it. So, repetition. I would say, since you have 200 questions here, if you go through the tests 5 times, okay, which is pretty much how many times you're going to go through it, but I would say it takes 5 times before you can go through all these tests. It's only 4 tests, 50 questions each. If you go through all these tests 5 times, I would say you will probably be able to get 100 on each exam, and you can feel pretty good that you definitely committed these to memory. So, what did we say? To be good at something, 1,000 times. And like I said, everything you need to pass for this exam is in the book. So, this book will make you good at 1,000 times. At the very least, you do these things, you're going to pass this exam, because it's a pass or fail exam. It's not an open competitive, and it's just something you got to do a job that you already know how to do. Okay, it's just another piece of bureaucracy, another way to collect fees from you. It's like you got parking tickets, you got this card. All right, make you good. For those of you who are not who like to really you don't like to gamble, you like a sure thing, go through it more. Don't just learn the information required to answer these questions. Learn the information to require any possible question. I will be giving you that information also. For those of you, yes, you can start veering towards the 5,000. But like I said, this test isn't worth getting too crazy about. Okay? But those are the numbers we're working for. So, let's get to the good stuff. Let's start with the book itself. Once again, I said that in addition to this being the #1 resource for preparing for this exam, it's also the cheapest, because it's free. Nothing's cheaper than free. Okay? If you're in the union offers plenty of courses. Make sure your dues are paid up, because I'm pretty sure they'll check that before they let you walk into the door to the class. But even there, you have to bring your own fuel gas code. Okay? This book already comes with it. And It has already done the work of whittling down what you don't need to read. Okay, whenever you get one of these code books, do I have, yes, okay. I actually put mine together with the plumbing code, but the Department of Buildings Fuel Gas Code, it'll be yellow. By the way, the Department of Buildings only recognizes its own publication. Anything else that's floating around there is not recognized by the Department of Buildings. It recognizes only its publication. Its publication will look like this. Okay, this is an exact reproduction for you. It looks like this. It's affectionately called the White Book. That's the only accepted version of the code the Department of Buildings acknowledges. So that's the one you want to get. If you want to get it, you don't need it for this, but if you want to have your own copy and you want to purchase it, the city store has it. They have one location by the municipal building next to Brooklyn Bridge in downtown Manhattan. They also have one in downtown Brooklyn. It's something like $100. You can buy it. I would suggest at this point in time that you actually go buy it, because if you want to get it delivered, it's like almost $50 delivery. Why would you want to do that? But we're already spending enough money on the fees, so we want to save as much money as possible. You don't need to. And let's say, for the sake of argument, you still do want the entire fuel gas code. This is not enough. It's like, thank you, Victor, but, I'd like to see the rest of it for myself. And, as well you should. You should never take my word for anything, especially when the word is already printed out officially. You can go to the Department of Buildings website, and they have all the codes there. You can access any codes you want and read the whole thing to make sure exactly what's up. I'll put that link in the comments also. Oh, also in addition to this video accompaniment, which means now you can have class anytime you want, whenever you want, how many times you want. You can also use the comment section to ask questions of me, of anyone else. If you're kind of person that hates raising their hand in class, doesn't like to participate in class, not a problem. If you have a Google account, YouTube account, you can comment in the comment section, and you're not using your real name, you're using your screen name, so no one knows who you are, so you can ask away and not worried about asking a stupid question or whatever. And not only can I answer it, but maybe we get other people who are extremely knowledgeable also, and they pipe in information. A lot of questions I've gotten right on tests on things that I've never done in my life, never heard of the first. I only knew the answer because someone else had piped up who had done it. And it's like, oh, I didn't know that. But I'm glad they said something, because on the test, it's like, wow, I am so happy that guy mentioned something, because now I got this answer right. Okay, I'm going to pretend that you have the book itself, but on the PDF, it is all the pages. So when you open the book, the front of the book, you should have the 2022 edition. This revised edition is the one that has 200 questions. The older edition only has 100, so we've added a lot more, and they're all recent. So you want the 2022 edition. Okay. Like I said, when we open up, you'll see the disclaimer. You looked at it, you agreed to it. All right. You'll see the table of contents, and it's pretty much what I told you. The tests. Pure cardio, real conditions, training to toughen you up. Yes, you are taking a 50-question test. If we were going to run the Boston Marathon, are we going to train by just running sprints? No. We're going to train by running long distances. We're going to train for the event, for the contest, by doing the actual thing that's required in the contest. It is a 50-question test. Your 4 tests here are 50 questions. This is to build stamina. Most people, sometimes they don't realize it, or they overlook it, or they don't, they don't realize just how much the brain works like a muscle when we're in a test situation. Okay, you're taking a test and you're not used to 50 questions. You may find at question 25, you're getting bleary-eyed, or you're getting tired. And when you get tired, you start getting scared. I think it was Andrew Jackson, Stonewall Jackson, who said that fatigue makes cowards of us all. If you go in there and your cardio is not up to speed, you can get tired, and then those voices inside of you that have no business saying anything during such an important contest are going to start talking about self-doubt. They're going to start asking you to question yourself, to second-guess yourself. How do we deal with that? We build up our cardio. Your brain can be built up. The brain's cardio can be built up so that the 50 questions feels like nothing. So we don't have to worry about getting winded. Okay? And if we're not winded, that same confidence we came in at the beginning of the test, we're going to take it all the way through. Okay, the next section, the next thing in the table of contents, the code in plain English. Yes. The code in plain English, and I'm very proud of it, so I will say it's a standalone thing. And guys, I understand some guys, they really don't want to read the code. And they ask me, do I have to read the code? Can't I just read the code in plain English? Will that be good? And I said, yes, it will be good. Do I recommend doing that? No. This exam is difficult, especially because of the wording. Okay, the wording will throw you off if you are not familiar with the lingo of the exact wording of the code. And I don't do the exact wording of the code in my abridgment of it, because then that would be pointless. The point was to make it super simple. The test is not super simple. Okay, I give you the code in plain English to help you interpret and understand some confusing stuff to make your life easier. But for this particular exam, once again, now it's another thing I highly recommend. In addition to 2 months of study time, I highly recommend you constantly read the actual code and the code in plain English together. You need to get used to how the code says things, phrases things, because once you're comfortable with that particular, we'll call it a dialect, once you're comfortable with that dialect on the test, the questions won't seem difficult to you. Okay? And then the next thing is theory and things. Okay. I missed this section in the beginning. Okay. In theory and things, you're going to see it's everything that you can't really fit into an exam, can't really fit into the code, and a lot of pictures. Okay. Pictures are important. Pictures, when you're going over a certain phrase or paragraph over and over and you just can't figure it out, and maybe I'm explaining it to you or someone else is explaining it to you, and you still can't understand it, you could see a picture and say, is that what that is? Why didn't you say that in the first place? Okay, so there are plenty of pictures to help get this straight in your head. Okay, and then the actual code is in the last section, and like I said, it's chapter 4 from the New York City Fuel Gas Code. I would say it's 85% of the test, and since you only need a 70 to pass, that's pretty good. Okay. The next page is going to be the pipe identification. Okay. Pipe identification, pretty much for the city of New York, is whatever you want it to be. You can pick any colors, however you want to identify it. It just has to remain uniform throughout the building. A pipe can't be green on one side of the wall, and then you go on to the other side of the wall and it's purple. Something's wrong. Now, this applies for most piping, but there are some piping that must have a color. The code will insist on that color. For gas, yellow. It must be yellow. We're going to use, we don't necessarily have to paint the piping yellow, but we do have to apply, at least apply the stickers. So that's why you see for all the book, you see this, the yellow lines going across, kind of like hazard tape. Well, it's supposed to look like that. It's going to be black letters on yellow saying natural gas. Okay, and the code for the plumbing code for most identification is one number, but for gas, this this tape or this marking is going to be no greater than 5-foot intervals. So every 5 feet, you can't go more than 5 feet without another sticky thing, without another yellow label or whatever saying natural gas. Okay, so that's what that picture's for. And now, finally, we're at the first test. So this is going to be test 1. Okay, these have been actual questions. Test 4 has the most recent questions. You'll find that since these are based on previous tests, that some questions are going to repeat. Good. We want repetition. There's some questions that you're always going to get. So good that you get sick and tired of them here, because on the test, you'll know them no problem. Okay? There are some questions you may never get, and there are some questions you get, but they're few and far between. But for now, let's start with the first question. So we're on page 3. Okay. Question 1. Gas piping is permitted to be sized in accordance with the sizing tables of the gas supplier. So, Con Edison, Brooklyn Union. No, not Brooklyn Union anymore. National Grid. National Grid, Con Edison. That's who has the information, the sizing information. So you're going to use their tables, their information to size your piping. Question 2. Using the longest length method for sizing gas piping, each section of piping is measured from the point of delivery to the most remote outlet. The point of delivery to the most remote outlet. So what are we talking about? We're talking about, we can get rid of this. The point of delivery. This is very important. What is the point of delivery? The point of delivery is the outlet of the meter set. So we're going to say this is the seller. Right? We're going to say this is grade. We're going to say this is the service coming in. We're going to go into a meter, and then we're going to, let's say we did a flange, right? Call it a flange, so we'll go like this. And eventually we'll get to the stove. And the stove is going to have its little valve, little gas valve, right? To connect it, we'll say that is the most remote outlet, right? That's the farthest point from the point of delivery. The point of delivery is going to be the outlet of the meter. That is everything from this point back belongs to the utility. Everything from this point on, that's our problem. That's our liability. That's where we're involved. And from definitions, I didn't give you definitions because it's a lot more than necessary. But from definitions, we can actually prove that some things in the code later, as we're going to see, actually contradict, because the code itself says that it's only applicable to the outlet of the supply valve. But we'll get into that later. But just so you know, your jurisdiction is from outlet of meter to the most remote outlet. Point of delivery is outlet of meter. Okay. Question 3. A newly installed 3-inch gas line will require purging before being placed into service if longer than 30 feet. Okay. Here we go. This is something that all of a sudden, purging, 3-inch, 30 feet. Okay. One, this is information that we need to have. Okay. This is not something you can figure out on your own. All right. What is purging? You have a gas line. You shut it down. There's gas in the line. You're going to work on it. You may even weld on it. Who knows? Whatever you're going to do. There's gas in the line. You got to get it out. So, they're saying that depending on the size of the pipe and depending on how much length you're working with, you're going to have to purge it. Okay? You don't have to automatically purge, but if it's a certain length, it's a little too much gas for their comfort, you'll have to purge. So, there's a table for that in the code. Like I said, we'll get to everything eventually, but for now, I just wanted to touch upon how do we learn information, like let's say it's from a table. If you turn to page 132, I actually make it convenient for you because at the back of the book, not only do I have the purging lengths, but if you skip this, you'll also see I have tables for other very important, very common information that you're going to be asked about that you must know by heart. There's no getting around this. You need to study it. You need to know it by heart. Once again, this is why you need the 2 months. You're not going to know it by heart in a week or two. These are things that no matter how good you are at studying, no matter how much work you put into it, your body needs time to acclimate. You could be an excellent athlete, you could already run fast, but if you have a slow time in the 50-meter dash and you want to improve it, no matter how hard you work, in fact, you can work too hard and overtrain, you're not going to get that top speed in just a week or so. You realize your body needs time to acclimate to the training, to get used to it, to get stronger. So does your mind and your memory. So this table here, if you're looking at 132, so you can look at it while I'm talking about it, I'm going to show you some things. Some people might call it a mnemonic. I don't really see it as, I don't think it qualifies as a mnemonic, but it's in that, that general area idea of studying, memorizing. But when we have a table like this, what I like to do is I like to look at numbers and see a very easy relationship that I can start with, that strikes me, that now gives me a point of reference, that no matter what, I can see this, I can start with this set, and then because I didn't necessarily memorize everything, wrote, I just memorized that this was the starting point, and then the rhythm or the pattern or the frequency of how the rest of the numbers relate to it, I can build the table without necessarily having memorized it. Although it looks like I did, I look pretty awesome, but it's just a trick. There's a trick to everything if you look hard enough. So we're going to first learn, because the question taught us that if we're dealing with 3-inch pipe, as far as purging is concerned, we got to do it if we're going over 30 feet. Good. I love this. 330, 330. Easy to remember. So, what are the other sizes of pipe? Well, the purging table only worries about 2.5. Okay, no problem. And then after 3, it goes 4. Skips 3.5, although 3.5 is a legitimate size. It's commercially made. You can use 3.5. Some information in the code, in the fuel gas code, actually lists 3.5. For some reason, purging lengths, they didn't worry about 3.5, so we're not going to worry about it. But just be aware that 3.5 pipe does exist. We got 4, 6, and 8. Okay, let's do the easiest stuff first. First of all, we just learned that we're going to start with 3, and then before 3 is only 2.5, and after 3, 4, 6, 8 is the last number. That's it. So with 8-inch or larger, we're not going to say 8 or larger. We'll just say 8, and then we know anything after that larger. Any length. So that makes life simple. So now we know the answer to 2 questions. If we got to purge 3-inch pipe, we got to purge it after 30 feet. If we got to purge 8-inch pipe, any length. 8-inch or larger, doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter if you got a foot of it. You're purging it. Okay? So, because 4-inch, 6-inch, 8-inch are bigger than 3-inch, they're going to have more gas in it, which means, I think, since we're worried about safety, we're worried about purging the gas, and we're only purging because we got a large enough amount of gas to be concerned about it, I would think that as the pipe gets bigger, the lengths are going to get smaller, because we can't have 30 feet of 4-inch. That's going to have way more gas than 3-inch. And the whole point was we're trying to avoid great amounts of gas. So I think because these tables are worried about safety, the 4-inch is going to be smaller. Is it? Yes. 15 feet. Okay? 15 is half of 30, right? And then the 6-inch is 10 feet. Okay? Powers of 5. So 30, 15, 10. Maybe I don't remember 15, but I know 10. I know there's a 30 somewhere, but I know the 3 takes it. I know there's a 10 somewhere, and it's got to be high here. Well, 8, no, because any length, so 10, and then the 4 gets the 15. And then the 2.5-inch, 50. 50 is a good number because you're going to see that this is not the only table where this rhythm, this pattern exists, and 50 is a favorite number. You know, maybe you wanted to say 40. I was thinking 40, but it's 50. It's 50, and you're going to find it's 50 a lot of times. Distance of flammables, or, so many fire codes. You go into fire code, it's like 50. It's either 100 feet or it's going to be 50 feet. 50 is a favorite number. So, this was a big advanced question to be the 3rd question of our studying. This is a lot. There were so many easier tables we could have memorized, but guess what? You got a way to memorize it, and you will get asked questions on this. Last test, I think there were like at least 3 different purging questions. Worded differently, different sizes, so they always ask about purging lengths. I think the purging table is the hardest table to learn, to remember. As we go further into the book, we're going to see one of the reasons why it's difficult, and another reason why I made the code in plain English to go with the code book is you're going to see the purging lengths table in the code itself. I just reprinted, I don't touch it at all, is messed up and super confusing because it actually has mistakes in it, and they don't fix the mistakes in the tables. Don't mean to go off on tangents so much, but the New York City Fuel Gas Code is the 2014 New York City Fuel Gas Code. That's actually something you need to know. That is a question on the exam. The code before that was the 2008 code. Now, these codes are based on the International Fuel Gas Code published by the International Code Council. So, the present code, the 2014, is based on the 2009. Okay, because when they made the 2014, it was around 2009. It takes a few years to get the code written. It takes another few years to get it certified before they can actually release it.